Welcome to the program, Devin Hargreaves. Why is conversion therapy something that you feel that the federal government needs to intervene to stop?
We've been going province by province as far as getting it banned. So we've had Ontario do it, Manitoba do it, Nova Scotia just recently banned it as well. Those bans are more along the lines of health and things like that, where it is only mandated as far as a province can mandate it, which is why we're turning to the federal government to step up, ban the practice, and put it in the criminal code so that we can continue to protect queer children and keep Canada being the forerunner as far as both LGBT plus rights as well as human rights.
Just so that everyone is on the same page here, when we talk about conversion therapy or reparative therapy for the purposes of the kind of legislation that you'd like to see, what are the parameters of that? What are we talking about?
As far as conversion therapy, it's a pseudoscientific belief that we can change people from being a member of the queer community to being straight, which is based on the notion that it's somehow wrong or sinful or things like that to be queer, which we know is not the case. And it's a matter of protecting our minors. We're looking to have it, as I said, put in the criminal code to criminalize it, as well as to stop people from taking children out of the country to engage in these practices.
And what sense do you have of how prevalent this practice is in Canada right now?
It is a bit of a gray area, to be honest, because due to the fact that either it gets driven underground, it can be done still legally by practitioners, but a lot of it is religious based and things like that. So with the nature of that, it is very hard to put your finger on just how big of an issue this really is. When you do start campaigning to have it banned, people do come out of the woodworks and indicate that they either had experience with it or know someone that did.
In terms of what you'd like to see vis-a-vis a ban, I mean, your petition, and we see that more than 3,700 people have signed that right now, does make reference to the criminal code. So what exactly would you be looking for from the federal government?
We'd be looking for them to enact legislation to protect queer individuals from having to be forced into therapy that indicates that it's wrong to be queer, and to protect them from that. So instead of, and this issue comes up, people say, what's to stop a queer youth from going to counseling? We're not advocating to stop a queer youth from going to counseling. We're advocating to stop queer youth being forced into therapy to be told that being queer is wrong, and not supported. That leads to emotional and psychological damages, and at times, even historically, it has been physical damage.
In your mind, would that ban be accompanied by punishments when you reference the criminal code?
Definitely. That's why we're looking at having that added to the criminal code. Just look at the long-lasting harm it has done, and yeah, it's obvious that this is 2018. We're in the 2000s. There's no excuse to have this practice still continuing. So let's step up and become the leader on the world stage that we've always been. Countries around the world are looking at banning this right now. Alberta has a provincial ban coming up as a private member's bill. And let's take that momentum to the next level.
What do you say to groups who, notably religious groups, who are concerned that this might infringe ultimately on their freedom of expression? If they, for instance, want to say to a member of their congregation that, I think, believe the example that was raised in one of our stories is that this is a phase and it will pass, that they should have the right to say that.
That can be harmful as well. I think most of what we've come across so far as concerns doesn't border more on the line of freedom of expression, more along the lines of freedom of religion. And to that, I would say we are not trying to infringe on freedom of religion at all. We're trying to help enforce and guard the right to freedom of religion as well as expression for queer minors that may not have that voice to stand up and do it for themselves at this time.
We are almost out of time, but I do want to know if you've had any positive response, if you've reached out to anyone from the federal government about this issue.
We have got the bill sponsored, or sorry, the petition sponsored by Sherry Benson. Unfortunately, just due to she'd had some work previously in the year, she's not able to move a private member's bill on that. So I definitely would call on any and all members of Parliament to step up, put forward some legislation, Both, I'm willing to help. The organization I'm with, the White Coral Society for Change, is willing to help, as is LPERG. My good friend Pirate Jen Takahashi, who's the director there. There's numerous people. We've got Dr. Christopher Wells in Edmonton. So many people would step up and guarantee volunteer their time to help make legislation in place.
Okay, thank you very much for taking the time to walk us through this, Devin Hargreaves.
Thanks for having us.